Hey folks, got a question. Y'all having a really good time at Berkeley Lab?
Yeah.
So am I. I'm really loving the color of the East Bay Hills this time of the year, even though it's a bit on the cloudy side. But that's what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is what I think is a really incredible opportunity you have here at Berkeley Lab. That is how to continue your internship after your internship. So let me explain. During this whole time, we're going to talk about a key concept, and that is the importance of networking. But specifically, not about who you work for, but who's working around you. You're going to see this is a very, very powerful concept, and it's helped me a lot. I want to spread it to y'all. So, before I begin, I think it would be great if I could talk a little bit about myself, and who am I? Well, my name is Isaac Gendler. I'm from LA, the city of Los Angeles to be specific. I have a really awesome and loving family, case in point. I study mechanical engineering and mathematics at San Jose State University, 1 hour south of here for all of y'all who are new to the Bay. It's super nice, you should really check it out and wave me a 5 while you're here. I also love learning languages. I've done Brazilian Portuguese, and now I'm working on modern Hebrew. I actually study 1 hour every day by myself. It's fun. It's like math. But what I love more in languages is renewable energy. It's been my life for the past few years. It's just so interesting and cool, and I think it's necessary for the planet. Right here is actually me installing some solar panels on the roof right near Berkeley. This was last summer. It was a volunteer project, and yes, I was on the roof for the entire weekend. It's very fun. You guys should do it. Trust me. And in fact, I love renewable energy so much that I write a daily science blog. Images are better on my computer screen, but my title is Isaac Science Blog. Not even joking. Googled up. I've been doing this for over 3 years. It's amassed over 1,000 posts and over 100 followers from dozens of countries around the world, every continent, you name it. It was started as a way to improve my technical writing ability, which I think can be really undervalued in modern STEM education. But it's evolved so many times that really now it's about my own explorations on technical and policy means to solve climate change. You've heard the quote that you should learn a little bit about your primary field every day. Here's a small example of what you can do. If you're interested in seeing this blog in action, there should be a link in the Google Calendar invite, or you can just email me at igendler@lbl.gov. I'm very happy to spread it. And what's really cool is that I'm not only writing about my passion for renewable energy, but I'm also leading a really awesome project with Berkeley Lab on solar energy for a senior design project. And this is a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. But how did I get here? How am I able to talk to you guys and find the means to actually do a renewable energy project with Berkeley Lab? Well, I think to tell you the story of the past few years to place everything in context. I came into my undergraduate career knowing that I really, really wanted to do research. But the school I went to was classified as the California State University School. So for those of y'all who are not familiar with the California public four-year university system, it's essentially divided into 2 tiers. The top are the University of California schools. Think Berkeley. They're meant to prepare you with more theoretical education that can get you on to graduate school and to a very high-level professional or research career. And then the second are the California State University schools, such as my school, San Jose State University. These are much more focused on finding you a job in industry. They do not offer a doctoral program outside of education. And my school, even though, gotta say, love it with my dearest heart, case in point, did not have a strong emphasis on engineering research when I entered. Matters have improved, but that was thanks to a lot of people really working to get things better. But I knew when I came in, I really, really wanted to do research. And instead of just moping about it, I decided to take action. So during my first semester at San Jose State University, I attended this awesome one-day symposium at UC Berkeley called Graduate Pathways to STEM, or Bay Area GPS. It was just really this fun event that was filled with speakers from all over the disciplines of engineering, focused on helping lower income and underrepresented students get into graduate school at engineering. And here I met a very salient speaker named Robin Lopez. He was then pursuing a master's degree in civil engineering, concentrated on hydrology at nowhere else but San Jose State. And he spoke about how he was working at this one place called Berkeley Lab for many years, and how he was able to accomplish many great things and really be in the supportive environment with this opportunity. So I said, okay, this is a really good speech. I placed it in the back of my head. Fast forward 1 year later, I was looking for internships, and I was thinking, I think Berkeley Lab would actually be a really great place. So I connected with Robin on LinkedIn, and I explained to him in the LinkedIn message, I don't know if you remember me, but I was at your talk you gave a year ago at GPS. I'm interested in pursuing opportunities in Berkeley Lab. The next day, we actually got to talk, and I mentioned I'm interested in sustainable transportation, and he then forwarded me a researcher looking for summer interns right there. And just so you guys know, Rob is now doing his PhD in one of the most selective groups at UC Berkeley, so major props to him. But next thing you know, fast forward to March, I found an email in my inbox with an official offer letter from nowhere else but LBNL. And I think like all of you probably were, well, I wasn't just excited, I was super excited for this opportunity. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to Berkeley, like a little San Jose State kid like me, like dude, breaking barriers, So we're getting around. Turned out that my planned project didn't happen. Disappointing because it would have been really cool. And I didn't really get to do what I wanted to do, but this is a common experience. So if this has happened to you, don't fret too much. You're not alone. And if you need someone to talk with, talk to me. But I definitely gotta say, I had a really fun time at LBNL. I went on tons of adventures, Case in point, that was like a day-long adventure where we went through all of San Francisco at the end. I'm still in contact with these people. So I'll talk to them on like a weekly basis, a lot of them. They're homies. But the most important thing was that I was put in this brand new environment that was like nothing else I've really been before. It's the first time in my life walking through a world-class scientific research institution. Everywhere I went, I found posters on the wall describing groundbreaking, exciting work. Whether it was focusing on unlocking the secrets of gene editing or creating a set of guidelines for high-performance, energy-efficient buildings in India. And this filled my young mind with all sorts of wonders. Not only that, I was in this place where they actually had these posters, but that the people who made these posters were working in the same building as me. And I was able to look them up, write them an email, addressing them by their first name, shoot it, arrange for a quick meeting, and just talk to them about their work like they were an old friend. And I'm like, dude, this is an opportunity. So I decided I'm gonna capitalize it. I'm going all in. I created an Excel spreadsheet of all the people I looked up and was interested in working with, and set up meetings. I knew that I wanted to find a mentor, who could really assist me, because finding resources at my school was quite difficult. And this led me to meeting Jessica Granderson, right on the left. So we talked and clicked very nicely together. And after speaking with her, something in the back of my mind said, her work's really interesting. The way she treats me is really nicely. And I just liked her vibe. And plus, her room had one of the best views in this entire building. So I'm like, okay, she's probably someone really high up there. So if she's does great work, she's great to me, why not be with her, right? So following November, I emailed her, and I got things arranged for another internship. After facing a misadventures of some bureaucratic hurdles, which Lala knows all about, I finally got myself a Blur summer internship under the provision of Shun Granderson and her good colleague, Guanjing Ling. And just so y'all know, Jessica and Guanjing are really awesome, spectacular mentors. If you're interested in working on building energy efficiency or just want people to talk to you about this subject, go do it. They're awesome. Please, I highly recommend while you're here. You're only here for so long, right? And of course, I was working on another project, and here's my poster, and well, it's a lot more blurry on this screen. I can send it to you if you want. But this is how it goes. A federal building just decided to install a new HVAC control system. It's a big upgrade. And they did this because they wanted to save energy. But there's something really sticky about measuring how efficient HVAC systems are. You see, so HVAC is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So heating, air conditioning. So like, what's keeping this building cozy right now in the storm? So, as you know, the weather for each day is different. It wasn't raining like this yesterday. And the HVAC control system can only be off or on. It's not Schrodinger's cat, people. So, when you want to measure, see how much energy it saves, you actually can't directly do that because there's no overlapping period between when it's on and off. So, just to illustrate, let's say you decide to install this really energy efficient HVAC control system right when the heat wave starts. Even though it actually would save you lots of energy, because you just implemented it during a heat wave, it's going to be consuming lots of energy that day. So when you look at the math, you're like, whoa, this is not energy efficient at all. In fact, this is an awful upgrade, even though it was good. So how can we get around this problem? Well, what you can do is actually you can analyze the characteristics of the responses of the system with and without the control system, and then you can take in the data for all the weather, and you can make a polynomial regression to interpolate how much energy would have been used. It's almost like a more primitive version of machine learning. So my job was just to do that, but with a federal building and its control system. And again, it was not what I originally planned, but I learned some really great data science skills. And I bet when I go to my graduate school that I'm going to be looking back to this project and saying, I learned this because I worked on this project with Jessica Guanjing. And my senior year was coming up. At my school, if you're an engineer, you have to do something called senior design. So senior design is this really awesome program where you have to spend an entire year working on a project just to build a functioning machine. And most of the senior projects at my school were more industry-oriented. But not only does my school actually let you bring in your own project, as long as you have your own idea, and you can just bring your own apparatuses, but I knew I really wanted to do something with research. And I'm like, hey, I know people at Berkeley Lab, and just right up here, just right across the bay, why don't I do it here? So I looked and I looked and I looked, and I was getting no responses. But then something really interesting happened. I just so happened to sit right by a postdoc from India named Gayatri Aditya. Too bad she couldn't be here today because of the weather, right here. And we talked from time to time. We, sat right by each other's cubicles and learned about each other's work and became friends. And we took trips together and whatnot. And I was still thinking about doing senior design, and I'm like, I really need to get this project going. And I was talking to a friend of mine at school, and he said, and we're thinking, okay, let's do it on thermal cooling of thermal solar panels, right? Because that's like a pretty widely applicable topic. And Gayatri told me that, she did work on solar photovoltaics in buildings. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ask you for some advice on this to see how I get it set up. And when I explained to her, I want to do on thermal cooling of solar panels, she said, well, I'm working on that right now. So I was like, can we work with you for a senior project? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So next thing you know, I found myself a senior project, and I had to get going because I found myself an advisor at my school, a team. So what's happened since? Well, first, I found myself a senior project advisor at my school. Professor Soal Zaidi, great man, spent 13 years at Princeton Plasma Physics Lab. Like, he's smart. He has 2 bachelors, 2 masters, an MBA, and a PhD. So I'm like, this, right at my school, who would know? That's humble San Jose State University. I found myself a really great team of fellow senior mechanical engineering students. We work really well together. Here is Rodrigo Enriquez. He's from El Salvador. Here is Ramina El-Bazi. So he is an Assyrian refugee from Iraq. Josh Sangvai. He's my friend I talk with, and Mara Leandro. She's a San Jose local. So like, we got an all-star team working on this project, and I was put as a leader, which is like my first time actually, really in my professional engineering career, which is quite nerve-wracking. And so, what's the big idea about my project? So, let me get to you. Why are we so focused on cooling solar panels? It's very simple. As temperature rises above 25 degrees centigrade, solar panel efficiency drops around 0.5% per degree centigrade or Kelvin, depending on which scale you're using. So you can imagine, you go up 10 degrees, your efficiency drops 5%, and if your solar panel is like already 14% efficient, then you've lost like a third of your output. It's pretty disastrous. And this is really bad in areas in the global south where you have really hot temperatures, and there's a lot of potential for solar energy, but sometimes it actually gets too hot. Like the weather is just too right for solar, so too much sun. So if we're able to cool them down in a cost-effective manner, then we can save lots of energy. And what's even better is if we can find a method that actually doesn't use any active energy input, we could call something called passive cooling, which means that it's even more efficient and better for the environment, and it'll be better scalable for the needs of people, let's say in developing countries, or don't have access to a constant source of electricity or water. So to begin the project, we're going to go through this massive literature review. We're going to look at all the engineering techniques that are the best of use, all the scientific procedures, everything. We went through journals, libraries, you name it. We just really had to determine the best tech out there. And then we had to bring it all together for a literature review presentation to our higher-ups to see and advise. So literally, it was my advising professor, Gayatri, and this guy who's done decades of work in solar energy in Russia came to this presentation. We all talk about our literature review, and they would just nail this and nail this, and like, why is this? Why is this? It's like a mini thesis defense. It was nerve-wracking, but at the very end, we all just hugged together. It was great. And I mean, hey, many of you probably had to do this right now for your projects. It's all part of science. Before you can do something, you have to see what has been done out there. And literally, just 45 minutes before this talk, I actually had to meet with my team, and we just decided on our final cooling system. And it's going to be involving using aluminum pipes to move water on the back of a solar panel to cool it, and we're still developing things, but that's what's really fun is that we're always meeting, we're always innovating, always have to keep on our toes, and it's really fun. And we had to go far just beyond design. We had to do simulation. We had to see how the system would perform with and without our system installed, and of course this can't always be done entirely through experimentation, so simulation. Here, Myra and Rodrigo were able to construct a complex thermal simulation in this software known as ANSYS. So this is our solar panel. This is like simulated under like maximum summer temperatures where like it's would be mostly hot in the interior. As you get out, you get closer to ambient cooling because of the surrounding air. And you get down to 45.734 degrees centigrade. This is in San Jose, specifically downtown San Jose. And raise your hand if you're doing any simulation work right now. You guys know it can be a pain sometimes, but it's fun and rewarding. This was it. But of course, now, no matter how detailed your simulation get, they mean almost nothing if it doesn't hold up to experimental evidence. So not only do we have to design our own experiments, but we also had to make sure that the tools and apparatuses we were using were actually correct. So this actually involved like taking our thermocouples, our temperature sensing devices, and putting it into boiling water and freezing ice, just to see if they actually were to match up. And what do you know? They actually were. So what this experiment is telling us is, okay, we put in some temperature sensing sensors at some time, and then we waited for a few minutes, and then we turned this boiler on, and the temperature rose at a constant rate, which is expected, and it started staying still around 100 degrees centigrade because it was boiling. So all of the energy that's added is going to changing the phase, not the temperature. So our apparatuses were correct. This is actually like our third time doing this, because the first time we did it, it turns out we had everything in the wrong settings. And we had to redo everything again. But it was rewarding. We even started experimentation. Gayatri is able to advise us on some of the experimental procedures, and you have to pay really particular attention to everything. This is our team setting up all those thermocouples on the back of the solar panel. This is grueling, but it was so rewarding. It's like you feel like you've been through a battle together when you do team-based experimental science. There's something about it. And we're even starting to get good data results. So this pretty picture is telling us the temperatures from all those thermocouples you saw for our first experiment. So it was just reading the temperatures in the back of the solar panel over a period of time from 3:12 p.m. to 5:47 p.m. So for all of those who are now acclimated to the Bay Area weather, yes, around 3:30 the temperature peaks, not at noon. So it's really a great way to show you how should we design our solar panels for which climates, for which temperatures. How should we make the cooling system? And we're not stopping there. We've applied our work to be published in the largest solar energy conference in North America, Solar 2019, taking place right in August in Twin Cities, Minneapolis. You should really talk with your mentors about submitting your work to a conference. It could really boost your resume and your scientific network. And you know what? I've learned a lot from this opportunity in ways I never could have had. I've learned how to do a complete literature review. I've learned to talk to people from different cultures. I've learned to find my own resources. I've learned to deal with setbacks. I've learned to graph data, not in just 2, but 3 dimensions. I've learned how to get over technical disagreements. I've learned how to make myself a better person. But really, I think most important, I really learned how to be a leader. And this means a lot to me because I actually have high-functioning autism. And a lot of people who have the same condition as mine, we're not really thought of as being capable of being leaders. In fact, a lot of times they think of us as either being unproductive or we're just some savant who sits in a corner and makes inventions but can't talk with people. And that a lot of the literature on helping out people with autism in the workplace is really just about how can we get them to become that savant, not that manager. They can't be managers. But my team really appreciates me. Everyone is happy I've been this leader, and I'm able to manage things, and I feel like I really am breaking boundaries just because of this project. And I'm really, very grateful for this opportunity that could have, would have been hard to do at any other place, I gotta say. So, yeah. So, how was I able to achieve this, though? How it's achieved? And it was the thing I mentioned in the first slide. It's about networking with people around you. How I was able to get the internship in the first place? I talked with Robin. How I was able to come back? I talked with Jessica. How I was able to get the senior project? I was talking with Gayatri. were they my bosses? None of them were. They were just people who were around me, people who I exposed myself to, and I decided to take the courage to talk to them. And you've heard the term "go network with people." And it's been shoved down your throat a million times, but I don't think people really properly explain how to do it. And that's not about who you know, but who knows who you know sometimes. Robin was just a second degree connection on LinkedIn. It wasn't my first degree connection. Gayatri, not my boss, she sat right next to me. Jessica just worked in the same building. So what I implore for all of you to do while you're here, especially if you don't come from a school that has many scientific resources, is to really think about how can I network with the people around me? How can I also, give back? Always give back, don't be utilitarian. Go around the building, go look at posters. If a poster looks cool, look them up on the internet. If they work in the same building as you do, shoot them an email or meet for lunch or just meet at the end of a Friday. And just meet with people, go talk with people who you have lunch with, go talk to these people in your room. I mean, I've met people at conferences because of their fellow Suli interns. Well, I know that for a fact. Even, you might be in living spaces like this guy right here. We were in the same co-op during summer. He worked at Berkeley Lab. He's a PhD student in the Colorado School of Mines. I got this fellowship, which allowed me to travel to potential PhD programs. And I was like, hey, I want to see some facilities in your area. I want to visit your grad school. Can I please crash at your place? He said, sure, and bring Gayatri along with you. So for 6 days, Gayatri, me, and him were all just together, and we had fun, and took this really cool picture, And so just really think about who's around you, and always be open-minded for an opportunity. I didn't know I would be working sustainable transportation. I didn't know I would be working in HVAC. I became interested in HVAC because of that. And I never knew I would be leading a senior project in my last year of college. I could never have guessed I could lead any project. So that's it. Thank you for your time. Any questions? I'm very open. It's been a great pleasure being back and to give back and do what I can.